directed by Peter Thorwath, Blood Red Sky follows a flight taken over by vampires. Although there may be some conflicting assumptions about it, the movie certainly exceeded expectations and offers a thrilling ride. So if you just watched or are thinking about watching the movie and want a detailed synopsis, stay right where you are, as we're about to jump right into it. A single mother, afflicted with vampirism, who has been starving off her full transformation for years, thanks to a careful regime of minimal blood drinking and medicine to keep her condition under control. When a doctor in the United States promises her the hope of a cure, Nadja takes an overnight transatlantic flight with her son in the hope of being cured permanently. Unfortunately, the plane has been targeted by hijackers for hire, who won't let the surprise appearance of a vampire stop them. From the minute it starts, Blood Red Sky is immediately in emergency mode. We know that something went terribly wrong aboard the passenger jet that was on its way to New York from Germany, which appears to have been hijacked. The film begins with the pilot landing the plane at an RAF airbase in Scotland, where trained snipers are at the ready with their rifles, aimed and ready to fire at the cockpit. Just before they go to take their shots, they see something unusual: a little boy. This is where we meet a little boy named Elias, played by Anton Koch, as he comes down from the cabin with a teddy bear held under his arm. The forces try to interrogate him about what is happening inside the plane, but before we can get anything, the movie flashes back in time to take a look at what led up to this tense moment. The first thing that we learn about the whole situation is that Elias' single mother, Nadja, most likely has something to do with it. Played by Peri Baumeister, Nadja enters the film dressed with a loose black wig along with an intense and chiseled look on her face. Before boarding the plane, Elias gets talking to scientist Farid, who is heading up to New York for a convention. Here we learn that Nadja is apparently living with leukemia and that she's been treating herself with cytarabine. Farther into the conversation, he also explains that his mom is heading to the US in hopes for a bone marrow treatment. Though the word cancer is never directly mentioned, Nadja stabs herself with a liquid drug cocktail in the airport bathroom, which suggests that her condition may not be so cut and dry. It's also learned that Elias has had to help Nadja with her condition from an early age. Blood Red Sky establishes that he's old beyond his years right from the start, when he checks their bags at the airport while Nadja waits for the sun to set. Before boarding the plane, the very ill Nadja seems to be a bit skeptical for some unknown reason. We then see her talking to a doctor. During this, the two discuss a bit about the treatment that she's going to get, which will apparently cure her illness once and for all. After all of Nadja's nerves are calmed, the mother and son board the flight successfully and start their soon-to-be doomed journey. Which, speaking of, the already seemingly unusual situation becomes even worse. Not too far into the flight, the passengers soon realize that their plane has been hijacked by terrorists, which consist of Berg, 8-Ball, and Bastion. These hijackers then take control of the entire plane and threaten the passengers that unless and until they receive some sort of payment, they won't let them off. Because of this, Elias makes a run for it and tries to escape an area beneath the plane's surface, which he had previously spotted when looking at the plane manual. When Nadja tries to stop him, the hijackers see her. She ends up getting herself shot in the chest multiple times by 8-Ball, the unhinged one of the group. She's left lying there on the floor, spitting up blood. Despite the ghastly sight, Nadja eventually wakes up from her short slumber. At this moment, it's now revealed that Nadja is no human, and that the pills she had been taking were a kind of vampire suppressant. The injections of the mysterious liquid had essentially kept her mostly human, and helped to prevent her from losing control of herself and drinking blood from humans. We also come to find out that Nadja is going to see a doctor named Dr. Brown in New York, where he will provide her with some treatment that will hopefully end her problems for good. Dr. Brown usually treats cancer patients, but believes that he can use radiation therapy to kill off the vampire cells in Nadja's body. As Elias explains to Farid earlier, he can kill off her bad blood and implant new bone marrow. Then she will start making healthy new blood. The vampire cells effectively act like cancer cells, and drinking blood causes them to rapidly grow and take over a person's entire body, giving them superhuman strength and durability. In flashbacks during the movie, we learn that Nadja was on a trip with her partner Nikolai when their car died on the road. Nikolai was killed by a vampire when he tried to get help in a nearby cabin, and when Nadja investigated, she was bitten by the vampire, who was then killed by the son. When she went back to the cabin, she met the vampire's father, who was working on a cure, only to realize being a vampire can't be cured. He tried to kill Nadja, but instead, she killed him and took all of his research. This then allowed her to control the impulses over the years, meaning she hasn't drunk human blood in a while, but that was all about to change. It's not made clear exactly what the terrorists are planning, though they try to make it look like the Muslim passengers on board, including one named Farid, took over the plane. They divert the plane and are about to jump out to some destination when Nadja returns, having killed a member of the group already. She plans to let the terrorists jump and then have the plane turn back around to its original destination. However, 8-Ball discovers her plan and forces her out of the cockpit by threatening to kill a child, which only leads to Nadja biting Berg, while also making sure to kill him before he turns. While the other terrorists don't believe him, 8-Ball is sure Nadja is a vampire, and he fights back with a UV light. After he stuns her, 8-Ball takes some of her blood, but before he can kill her, Elias saves her. He threatens to shoot the terrorist, and instead ends up shooting a window, depressurizing the plane. The resulting chaos allows Nadja to escape as the terrorists lower the plane to stop everybody on board from suffocating. Nadja tracks down 8-Ball in the cargo hold, where he has locked himself in a car to inject himself with Nadja's blood. As he starts to turn, Nadja sets the car on fire, seemingly killing him. However, it turns out that the fire wasn't extinguished, and once Nadja manages to lock the remaining terrorists in the cargo hold, 8-Ball breaks free and turns them. Meanwhile, in the cabin, the passengers begin to turn on Nadja, despite her efforts to actually save them. Farid helps her barricade the now vampire terrorists in the cargo hold, but ends up getting bitten in the hand by 8-Ball. Luckily, Nadja cuts off Farid's hand to stop the infection, and, for a while, the vampire terrorists are locked in the hold. Since they now can't get to New York City, the plane changes route to a nearby airport, as massacre breaks out on board when a dying stockbroker lets the vampires out, in hopes that they'll bite him. All the passengers start to get attacked in turn, leaving just Nadja, Elias, Bastien, and Farid safe in the cockpit. Nadja knows they can't land, as the vampires will just wait it out until it's dark and run free in Scotland. So Farid comes up with a plan to blow up the plane with the remaining fuel after they get off safely when they land. Elias ends up going against his mother's wishes and heads into the cargo hold to get the detonator that the terrorists had brought on board. He gets the detonator, but is soon cornered by the vampires. Nadja then comes to the rescue for him after feeding on Bastien to regain her strength. She fights against 8-Ball until Elias blows open the cargo bay door and Nadja pushes 8-Ball out. He tries to hold on, and Farid has to tip the plane towards the sun to burn him, killing him once and for all. Elias tries to calm his mother down, but she shuns him, and then we cut back to Elias with the soldiers. They wrongly assume that Farid is a terrorist. As it turns out, the actual terrorist had lured him on board with a fake convention. Elias tries to talk some sense into them, but they sedate him and decide to wait it out until sunset, which they soon find it was a bad idea. The soldiers break into the plane at sunset and capture Farid, taking him off board. However, the rest are quickly overcome by vampires. Luckily for everybody else, Elias had snuck the detonator out in his teddy bear and ended up escaping from the RAF base just in time to blow up the plane, killing the other vampires, including Nadja. Colonel Drummond soon realizes his mistake and frees Farid, who reunites with Elias, fulfilling a promise Farid had made to Nadja to keep her son safe. All in all, Blood Red Sky is a great horror movie for vampire fans, airplane fans, and basically anyone. It takes what seems to be an absurd concept and plays it straight, executing it perfectly.